This is VOA News. I'm David Byrd in Washington. Condolences and praise continue to pour in from former presidents and political figures around the world for former U.S. President George H.W. Bush, who died Friday at age 94. Bush's son, former President George W. Bush, said his father was a man of the highest character and the best dad a son or daughter could ask for. Former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle released a joint statement saying that Bush's life is a testament to the notion that public service is a noble, joyous calling. Former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, who worked with the 41st president to end the Cold War, said he deeply appreciated the attention, kindness, and simplicity typical of George and Barbara Bush. Speaking in Argentina, China's President Xi Jinping said he was greatly saddened by the death of former President Bush and said that the elder Bush had made an important contribution to the China-U.S. friendship during his lifetime. The White House says there will be a state funeral for former President George H.W. Bush here in Washington. AP correspondent Sagar Meghani has details.
The 41st president's body will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda from Monday evening through Wednesday morning, and the public is invited to pay its respects. A funeral is being planned for Washington's National Cathedral, and the White House says President and Mrs. Trump will be there to honor Bush.
He's a terrific guy, and he'll be missed, and he led a full life. And a very exemplary life, too.
The president says he spoke with George W. Bush and brother Jeb earlier today from Argentina, where he's been attending the G20 summit. He says he canceled a scheduled afternoon news conference out of respect for the late president. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
For more on these stories, visit our website. This is VOA News. Leaders of the Group of 20 Nations meeting in Argentina have agreed to fix the world trading system. However, only 19 agreed to support the Paris Accord on fighting climate change. We get the details from AP's Ben Thomas.
Applause as Argentina's president closed the two-day summit in Buenos Aires after all 20 leaders, including President Trump, signed off on a final statement. It acknowledges flaws in the world trading system and calls for reforming the World Trade Organization. However, it makes no reference to rising protectionism. European negotiators say that's because of resistance from the U.S. President Trump has criticized the WTO and adopted aggressive trade policies toward China and the European Union. EU officials say the U.S. was the main holdout on nearly every issue, including climate change. 19 of the 20 nations reiterated their commitment to the Paris Climate Accord in the statement, which noted that the U.S. is sticking by its decision to withdraw. I'm Ben Thomas.
Nearly 100 people, including 16 police officers, were injured and more than 200 arrested after a protest turned violent in central Paris Saturday. As AP's Zaria Shakali reports, for the third week in a row, protesters angry about rising taxes clashed with French police.
Protesters, including some wearing black hoodies, piled up large plywood planks and other material in the middle of a street near the Arc de Triomphe and set the debris on fire. Police fired tear gas and used water cannons to try to push back the protesters who gathered around there. Some demonstrators responded by throwing large rocks. The monument was seen late in the day tagged with the words "The Yellow Vests Triumph" in reference to the fluorescent vests protesters wear. I'm Zaria Shakali.
Veteran leftist Andres Manuel López Obrador was sworn in as Mexico's president on Saturday, promising a radical change of regime in a country that struggles with gang violence, chronic poverty, and corruption. Backed by a giant Mexican flag, the 65-year-old took the oath of office in Mexico's lower house of Congress. He said that his administration would overturn what he called the disastrous legacy of decades of neoliberal governments. The new president also said security would be his top priority. And the World Food Program warns that millions of people throughout Yemen who depend on the commercial import of food into the country will go hungry because of fighting around the port of Hodeidah. The UN calls Yemen the worst humanitarian crisis in the world and warns that more than 3 years of warfare has put nearly 14 million people on the brink of famine. For more, visit our website. I'm David Byrd, VOA News.